Hello again, Broncos country.
Really excited to chop up some Broncos with y'all this week.
Bourbon, Broncos, and no BS.
Orange Weekly.
It is that time, your favorite time of the week. We're not for the Raiders, Chargers, or Chiefs. So grab your brews and your fantasy league. We got that blue and orange blood that you bleed. Like Lindsay, Sutton, and Judy. We are that Mile High Broncos country.
Orange Weekly. Fans, brews, and Broncos news. What's going on, Broncos country? How y'all doing tonight? Welcome to the pre-off-season show here at Orange Weekly, Bourbon, Broncos, no BS, whatever you want to call it, post-Super Bowl. Either way, we're
Some
here.
call it a post-season show.
Post-season, pre-off. I'm already drinking, so grab your drink, guys. Kick back, relax. Glad you're here. Post your comments, post your questions. And if you haven't joined us before, we are glad you're here. We are all about talking to you guys, the fans, and not talking at you. So, yeah. Welcome to the show. And Jared, how y'all? Well, Jared, David, John, how y'all doing, guys?
Doing good. I'd like to think this is our season 5 season finale, so I'm a little sad. Obviously, we're going to have a lot more content in the offseason. This is the end of the season post-Super Bowl show that we do every year, and getting ready for season 6 of Orange Weekly.
Oh, yeah. Season 6 is going to be phenomenal, right? We have a lot of things coming your guys' way. Hit that share button. We have a jersey giveaway we're going to be doing, so watch for information on that throughout the off season as we get closer to the season. It's going to be. I want this jersey. I'm just telling you, David. How you doing, man?
Man, beautiful. Already talking about the jersey though, which obviously I want to. So we're going to get into that. Robert, Zach, thanks for joining us. Always good to see you guys. Daniel. Man, it's always good to see you guys come out for a show in the middle of February after our team hasn't been playing for 2 months.
It's been 2 months.
I don't know, something like that. Yeah, more like a month and a half. Anyway, awesome to see you guys. Awesome to see the Orange Weekly community here. Let's get into it. What do you say?
Man, where do we start? I think the best place to start is new GM, John Elway demoting but also promoting himself at the same time.
Bold move.
He demoted himself up.
He kicked himself upstairs. It's the damnedest thing. When you're in the position that John Elway's in, you've won your franchise 2 Super Bowls as a player and 1 as an executive. You get to promote yourself into less jobs.
My favorite one was when they gave him the his office, and they were like, "Oh, he's going to give him the general manager office." Like, yeah, he's got the bigger one upstairs. Like, why? Like, he didn't need 2 offices. Like, that wasn't a big deal.
Hey, Ryan, no, glad you're here, man. Obviously, people are busy, can't watch every show, but every time you guys are here means a lot. So, yeah, John, I mean, what's your take on new GM?
I mean, I love it personally. I mean, this guy's well respected around the league. Personally, I didn't know much about him coming into it, but the more I read, the more I love this hire. So, really looking forward to see what he does, and everything he mentioned in the his press conference was everything we'd want to hear, and just hope he kind of lives up to what he's saying.
A guy whose philosophy as a GM in George Payton, I think we're going to see him really try to build this team through the draft first. And we've seen that with the Vikings through a lot. They're not afraid to sign free agents. They're not averse to getting guys or even, trading those draft picks for guys that, like Yannick Ngakoue is the most recent example of a guy that didn't work out for them, but they're willing to be, make aggressive moves to try to improve their team, but they really want to improve with the draft first.
100%. And not to mention 14 years with the Vikings, and they had, 17 players that they drafted or via the draft or free agency, unrestricted or undrafted free agency that made the Pro Bowl. So if we can match that, like, we got a stud as a GM.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good place to be to learn what it takes to be a full GM too. We want to give him a lot of credit for all the stuff that happened in Minnesota, but he wasn't the guy, right? He was kind of like sat there underneath. So there's a lot that we're going to see. He's going to have his own philosophies. I'm sure that's going to be a little bit different, and that's still to come out. I mean, we could do as much research as possible, but it really comes down to what he thinks is best for the team at the time. I'm also interested to see how much say he actually has. Right when he got brought on, they said, he's still going to go and for the big decisions, Elway's still going to be part of the big decisions. So, stuff like this Watson talk that I'm sure we're going to get into later, stuff about, who to draft. I guarantee Elway's still going to be the main guy in that draft room going, I don't know, if the big dog's like, I don't think you should pick him up. I don't know if they're going to, I'm kind of interested to see what kind of leeway he has and what kind of support / being told what to do he's going to be getting.
So, I mean, I would have thought that if I were him, I would say, look, I want this job. I'm excited for the opportunity, but the only way I'm going to take this is my team now. Like, I'm making the calls. If the team goes to hell, I think, Jared, you were saying this, maybe I'm taking this from you, but if the team goes to hell, it's on me. Like, I get it, John Elway, you're the boss. I'm going to have to answer to you. But I'm the one who's, and I'll look for your input and whatever you have to say. End of the day, it's my decision. And so, yeah, there is going to be that question there of, is John Elway pulling the strings or is this really his team? And I think that's what we're going to have to look at moving forward.
Yeah, and I think, Jared, I take a little bit of a different view than you, but maybe the same also. I think John Elway's done. Appreciate you, Robert. Thank you very much. Team Puffball for life. And yeah, sorry, had to get that in there. But no, I think John Elway, if he had wanted to just stay the GM and do the job that he's currently doing, he'd just be doing it still. And but there's a very real possibility that he might have more trouble letting go than he thinks he will. That he will still want to be involved in these decisions. So I think it's going to be very apparent very quickly going in through this offseason, especially through the draft, if this is George Payton's team right away, or if we've still got a little bit of an Elway lingering over the shoulder.
Yeah, but on that note, David, this is a guy that was highly coveted too. He's passed up jobs over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years to different teams. So I don't believe that he would have come to the Broncos if they weren't telling him, hey, you're going to have control of this team. You're going to have the decision. Right. The decisions are going to fall on you.
Yeah, I think you're totally right.
So, I mean, there's them telling him that, but is Elway going to try to strong arm him, and I would like to think no, but either way. And when I look at the Stafford situation, how, what we offered to go get him, this makes me feel like that was 100%, George Patton there. So I don't know. It's something that just people are going to have to watch for. And either way, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, everything is on his shoulders now. Win, lose, whatever. So
there's two ways this can go. He could either be the scapegoat of like, hey, I'm going to make all the decisions, but at least I have someone to blame so I can keep my job here longer, which is something that a lot of Broncos country has been talking about, right? There's two sides of the Elway. Everyone wants to keep him or everyone wants to get rid of him. And that maybe, you hire a GM being like, oh, you're going to have all the decisions. And if we start tanking and, keep down this road that we're in the last 5 years, then you have a scapegoat. Other options, we start doing better, and now you have a new fresh face that got brought in, because other than the head coach, we've basically had the same war room for the last 7, 8, 9 years. So and maybe bringing in the fresh face, bringing in someone new, someone from outside might help us out. Unfortunately for us and everybody out there in the Twitter world and the social media world and whatnot, we're not really going to know. And I don't think anybody ever is unless you're in that war room. And I don't think anybody's leaving that war room going to tell on anybody. I think that's going to be hush hush for a while. I don't think we're really going to ever know what that relationship is.
Right.
Hey, let's start getting some of these other questions here. I'm sure we'll circle back through these conversations. John here, a couple comments on Shaq. So A lot of people saying that, Elway made a huge mistake by letting Shaq go, and some people saying, you know what, let's go bring him back. Let's find a way to bring him back. And so I think the end of the day there, the question is going to be money, what is he going to ask for? Is he worth it? And yeah, is he going to want to leave Tampa Bay with Tom Brady still there? That's the thing.
Shaq Barrett may be in line for a $20 million plus a year contract at this point. Like, everybody saw what he did in the Super Bowl. Everybody saw what he did in his tenure as a Buccaneer. He's going to get a big money deal from somebody.
Yep.
So, like, let's just, if we want to talk about him returning to the Broncos, we can talk about that. But let's make sure we're talking about it as he's a top of the market free agent in that position. He's going to get huge money.
Yeah. And the other comment I saw was about Davis too. I mean, same thing. You're coming off of a Super Bowl. Obviously, you played very well. There's only, and I've been asking for this for, I don't know, all 6 years that we've been here, and probably before that. Give me a linebacker that can cover tight ends. I want a linebacker to cover tight ends. He's one of those guys, but he's going to be asking for way too much money. We have to find a homegrown somebody that can cover that, and that's just not going to be it. Unfortunately, also let's remember Shaq Barrett in Wade's system is not going to be the Shaq Barrett and Fangio system. It's not the same type of system.
You're right. Now, when we can talk about, did Elway make a mistake in letting him go? But to really go back to that and fill out that hypothetical, you'd have to go, well, did he make a mistake by drafting Bradley Chubb instead of betting on Shaquille Barrett to become the player that he is? And in the situation that the Broncos were in then, I don't think it just in a vacuum you can call it a mistake. So after he did that, after he made that move, it really didn't matter how Barrett develops, because he turns into this guy. Because if he does turn into the guy that he does turn into, you're facing the problem that you face with him now. He's going to need a big money contract from somewhere, but you just drafted this guy 5th overall to do that job. So are you going to admit that you screwed up on last year's 5th overall pick, or are you going to let the undrafted free agent 7th round walk on go seek greener pastures? It's hindsight's 2020 for sure, but at that time, I don't know that you can call that a mistake.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. Like I said, hindsight's 2020. There's no way we'd be able to pay someone like Shaq Barrett and Von Miller on the team. Same position. All our defensive money is going to 2 people essentially, so it just wouldn't have worked out long term. Now, who's to say he's going to have a season like he did last year and even this year if he stayed with the Broncos also?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you'd be sitting here in a situation where like, why did we keep Shaq Barrett? We need to get rid of him. And
so I think I saw an interesting post, and I want to say it was John actually that posted something along the lines of, if you go back to it, we re-signed Vaughn to a huge because he had that big Super Bowl. Imagine Vaughn doesn't have that big Super Bowl, right? He doesn't get Super Bowl MVP. Are we looking at the difference between trading Vaughn and keeping Shaq and the other way around? Now that's again going back and forth, and that kind of transfers me into this next question we talked about. Are we going to talk about Vaughn? Do we think Vaughn is done in Denver? Do we think we trade him? Do we think we keep him? I don't want to get too far into it, right? We don't like to do the non-football related talk here, just straight from a football standpoint, money as a player, as an athlete. I don't want to get into the personal life things that he has going on, but do we keep Vaughn for this season and going forward? Or are we going to try to use him for trade bait to try to get one of these big offseason acquisitions?
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, you got to restructure his contract.
Yeah. I don't see a way that they can keep him on this contract for next year. In the option that they have on him, I think it's going to be a restructure, whether it's incentive based. That's always an option. Hey, if he plays super well, he's going to earn that money, or he just wants to stay in Denver. It's hard to say right now. We don't know what Bond's thinking. So only time will tell.
And, as much as we don't like to talk about the off-field stuff, I think if you're the GM at this point, that whatever that transpires into probably does play a little bit of a factor into what you do moving forward with him. And since we don't really know anything at the moment, there's really not a whole lot of even speculating we can do or should do about it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the biggest part is like, as much as the civilian, and it's funny, and this is the most non-football talk I'll ever do on this show is a lot of our athletes, we have to remember that we look up to these guys as athletes, as what they do on the field and their personal lives. Not that it should be off limits per se, but there is a certain level of respect that we have to give to these guys. Like, you are an athlete, and a lot of times we look up to guys that are kind of shitty people. Now, I'm not saying Vaughn is one of those guys, but sometimes we do. Sometimes we look up to these guys and be like, wow, you do shitty stuff for no reason, and I don't like that. But we have to follow you for the game. We follow you for the athleticism. Don't be a shitbag, you know, that military term coming out on me, but don't go out in that and do that kind of crap. But, you know, we have to live with that. And they're our idols, but we have to look at them as an athlete and not a person, which is weird, right?
Hey guys, lots of comments and questions coming in. It seems like we're ignoring you. I promise we're not trying to get to them and lump them in similar categories. So if you don't see your question or we don't get to your topic, repost it. If you could also do us a favor, hit that like button, the react button, whatever, share button. Tell your friends about us. Glad you're all here. We're the #1 Broncos fan-based podcast out there, so keep that in mind, and we're just glad to be doing this for you guys.
And Daniel, I do want to mention we will get to this Watson talk. Me and David have gone into discussion very deeply about this, and we have
this is going to be epic.
Very strong words.
Yeah. There's gonna be heated conversations
every time.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's stick around for the Watson talk. It's going to be good. You don't want to miss it. So let's see. Any other thoughts on Vaughn? I think the big thing for me is big question mark. I would not be surprised if you get some news during free agency on him moving on. Ideally, I wouldn't want that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
It's anything can happen with him at this point. Nothing should surprise anybody with his outcome next season. Whatever happens. All right, what's next?
Let's see some comments on Coach Fangio. So if let's see, we had what was the question? Basically saying if we move on from Drew Lock, is Coach Fangio immediately on the hot seat? For me, everybody's on the hot seat.
Yep.
If we have another losing season with or without Lock, I'm sorry, you're probably going to see Coach Fangio and company leave. And if you guys have watched the show before, you've probably heard my theory and my guess as to what's all going to play out. But bottom line, everybody's on the hot seat right now. Look, new GM, if this team goes, I'd say even 8-8, you're going to see him wipe everything, wipe the slate clean, get rid of everyone, build. Like, you're going to talk about a full rebuild, not just on the team and the players and the coaching staff, but front office people. I mean, I think it's going to be drastic what's going to happen if we don't at least get a 9-7 season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We talked about it a lot. I think I think we're in pretty close agreement. If they don't get it done to a winning season, if Locke's not here, it's because the team didn't do well under him. And if the team didn't do well under him, I don't think a GM in his second year is going to put up with the team not doing well. He's going to bring in his own guys.
Yeah.
But the other thing too, I think Fangio was part of this hiring process, and you have to kind of remember that. I don't think he had the main decision, but meeting with the GM is important, and having Patton sit down with them and go, hey, this is your job online. Like, you have 1 year left. And I'm pretty sure this conversation, I think he knows this. I don't think this is a secret to anybody. I think he knows this is his last year if he doesn't succeed. And ultimately it's going to be, I think that conversation is talking, especially with the quarterback situation. Do we keep Locke? Do you have faith in Locke? Do you have faith in him? Are you going to want to move on? Do you think you'll do better with this person? And if that conversation, if he has faith in Locke, we're not going to trade for anybody, because then, like you said, we wipe the slate clean, but it's going to fall on the head coach for this season.
Yep.
Because it's really easy, especially the general manager, your first season being like, hey, I only drafted the rookies. You know what I mean? Hold off on me. I came in here, I drafted the rookies. These guys are probably going to do okay. Like, back off on me. So it's really going to fall down on Fangio. This whole season is really going to be a realization from Fangio.
And he knows it. I mean, you might be thinking here, like, we need to boo him or something to let him know. Look, the players know this. It was 5 straight seasons without going to the playoffs, 4 in a row of a losing season. Look, everybody knows what's on the line. If you're a receptionist, new GM, and with the way the team's going, I would be sitting there like, I don't know. I don't know if I'll have a job if this team.
Get my resume ready for the Denver Broncos receptionist.
Just saying, I don't know how far it's going to go, but everybody's aware of what's going on, and obviously not that far, but still. Okay. If you have any other comments about Coach Fangio or whatnot, go ahead and post them. But guys around the room, any other thoughts, Fangio or the coaching staff in general?
That's one thing you're seeing the league kind of take to this Fangio defensive system. The Chargers brought in Brandon Staley to run that system. The Rams are still keeping that system going. It's kind of the Shanahan offensive defenses now. So in the way that it's proliferating around the league,
Right. Other people are starting to follow on. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of hope that it works out. You hope that the pieces as constituted now can take that step forward, because it's great to have an imitation, but the original, Vic Fangio's not done innovating defenses yet. So if we do have to move on from him this offseason, he's going to find a job again pretty quickly in this league, and it's going to be kind of a bummer not to have him. So, like I said, just get it together, Vic.
Look,
unless we can do some sort of Mike Munchak deal where we keep him on as defensive coordinator, because no doubt he's one of the best defensive-minded people in the league.
Right.
I don't see that happening, by the way.
I don't think that's going to happen.
That's not happening.
Look, it goes back to how weird this year was for all the teams, right? Not just the Broncos. All the teams, the entire NFL, was a weird year. It's really hard to look back and analyze what happened and compare it to other years, right? And then you add all the injuries the Broncos had, and you look at the injuries, especially on defense, and the fact we were still a top 10 defense in the league, there's some hope there. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed on offense, and it's going to be turbulent, I really think, as we get to free agency and whatnot. But you're right. This guy is a good coach. He knows his defense. He knows what he's talking about. I would be very disappointed to see him leave. Obviously, at some point when you keep having losing seasons, you got to move on. But I don't know what more you could have asked for from Coach Fangio this last year, especially.
He's the only reason that we were a top third of the league defense with the players we had playing. Ridiculous.
Yeah, $50 million on IR, and I believe I'm more than half of that was on defense. You talk about Von Casey. Those are two big names.
Jared, reset your mic. I'm going to put you in timeout. Yeah. So no, exactly right. I mean, so much money there, and you're talking about all these starters, right? It's just crazy how much it piled up, but then we were still able to compete against the Chiefs. The second half of the season, we weren't just floundering in every game. We weren't getting beat out of the water. Like, we were still competitive in those games. So, Jared, how is it now?
That should be good now.
Yeah, that's good.
And
should be good.
And not just starters, but guys that we brought in specifically for this season. Darrell Casey, AJ Boye, even Juwan James opting out of the season. I mean, we only had him a year before that. So, new guys that were supposed to really help our team that just never did.
Yeah, that was the most disappointing part. I think by week 3 or whatever, we were out Darrell Casey already. We were out AJ Boye about half the time. It's just, man, it's rough. It's a lot.
You gonna offer?
Yes, I would love that. Well, I'll hit you up. Robert, because I need to build a new one.
We might start taking bets on how far into the show is Jared's mic going to instantly go into eat mode. We'll have some over. We'll talk to Ray about, from the podcast and figure out what the betting lines are. So, so lots to look at for Coach Fangio. Also, there'll be a lot of talk going to the offseason. People may start speculating and whatnot. Bottom line, it doesn't matter if people are saying he's going to be here for 5 more years, or bottom line, this is a do or die year for everyone. So I think when it comes to Coach Fangio, that's all we have to say right now. There's not much else to say. He's not going to do anything drastically different. We pretty much brought the entire coaching staff, right? Even the special teams coach came back. So you're not going to see anything
so far.
Exactly. Let's see. I'm trying to, guys, remember, we'll be going into the Watson talk here in a little bit. It's going to be epic. I'm pretty much going to say go, and Jared and David are going to go at it. John and I are going to sit back and drink for a little bit while we watch this unfold. I want to save this for a little bit later there.
We considered doing just a special podcast for this.
Specifically podcast just for, and we still might. Let's see how it goes here and see what we get, what kind of reactions we get from you guys, and then we'll We'll do a specific podcast just on the Watson trade talk.
Yep. Yeah, Robert, we actually did have Perna on several years ago. I think our second or third year of this. So
I think he'd be willing to come back.
We had Cody Rourke on the other week during the fan appreciation episode, and the jersey, the Cortland Sutton jersey we're going to be giving away, is donated by Cody Rourke there. So again, I don't know if he's watching, but make sure you guys go follow him on Twitter at Cody Rourke, and great stuff from him. And glad he's a supporter of us.
We actually have a couple. We have a couple of big guys coming on this year. I don't want to give away names right now, but look out. We have a couple big names that are going to be coming on the podcast and shows this upcoming year that we're working on. So we really are trying to work, especially getting some specialty guys. Season
6.
Most people go like this.
Yes, Jared. Most people do that. I'm switching it up. I'm trying new things. Don't stifle me. How about that? I'm gonna try. Yeah, you gotta figure out. Wait a minute. Thumb.
Wait, there it is.
No, that's 7. Now it's 6.
Lots. Either way, it's year 7's going to be even better than year 6. So just saying, year 6 is going to be pretty fantastic. So make sure you keep a tab on what we got going on over here. Robert asked this a little while ago, and so Robert, sorry, just now getting to it, but I thought it was a good place for it. Is AJ Bowie coming back?
So there's two things I want to mention here before I pass off to you guys. I'm sorry. One of them is obviously has a big contract, and the other one is there's actually quite a bit of good free agent cornerbacks coming out this year. Somebody mentioned, I think earlier in the comments, I want to say Patrick Peterson is one of them. Going out and getting Patrick Peterson. Another one to keep an eye on that I've kind of been interested in kind of watching is William Jackson III out of Cincinnati. He's been their number one guy out there. He doesn't have a lot of hype going on him because he was playing for Cincinnati, so that defense wasn't exactly great. But I think if we could pick him up, we could get rid of the AJ Boye contract and get a much better contract for William Jackson.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine him back at this level. $12 million based on the production of last season, when cutting him saves basically that entire amount against your cap. Really not a big hard choice there as far as, either getting rid of him or keeping him at a very different contract than the one he's on. And yes, get Cody back. Every one of us is literally DMing Cody on Twitter every single minute of every day. Trying to get
I'm not. Are you? Is that why he hasn't responded to our messages lately? Because
he blew up our entire fan appreciation with one jersey.
Right. Yeah. Wait, like it was nothing. Like it was nothing.
We have socks. We have some other cool. And here he is, like really, really nice Cortland Sutton jersey. And I was like, well, we tried.
Yeah. Just turn it off. Orange Weekly is over. Yeah, right.
Yes, Jared is trying to grow his stash back. If you,
I'm on the haven't been to work in a couple weeks build right now, and that's really where I'm going with this.
As you mentioned, it was weeks. I would have just said I just haven't been to work lately. But if you say I've been to work, in weeks, and that's all
I can't grow facial hair. We've decided this. This is not news to anybody.
I wouldn't advertise it. Daniel, Ayla's just busy tonight. Obviously, we're all not going to be here on every show, but she'll be back. Let's see. Yeah, Robert, appreciate the koozie beer opener, guys. Remember, we love you guys. We're here all for you, the fans, and so every year we're gonna be doing a fan appreciation episode. So just make sure you watch out for that, and might even be doing some more giveaways during the season. So we got a ton of stuff for you guys between content, giveaways, and everything. So glad you're all here. Cool, Glenn, how you doing? Let's see.
Glenn got his prize. It sounds like.
Yeah, yep. Glenn, Keith, Robert, thank you guys so much. You guys all got your prize. I'm glad you guys got those.
Okay. Any other comments around the room before we open up the can of worms? Anything else you're looking forward to? You know what? We did have.
He's already taken off his jacket. Look, he's getting ready.
We did have one question earlier that I didn't get to. Any thoughts on the number 9 pick in the draft?
Well, it might directly revolve into this conversation we're about to have, but if it doesn't, the best name on the lists that I'm seeing in a weird year is Caleb Farley, I think corner from Virginia Tech. A couple big names at corner in not a really deep class of cornerbacks this year. And he's a guy who sounds like he would be a really good fit in a Fangio system. So that's, definitely a name to keep an eye on.
Yep. Farley, Certain, Parsons are my three on defense there. And I think it's going to be a defensive draft 100%.
Yeah.
We are sticking with Locke.
Yeah, if we decide to stay with Locke, I 100% agree. I think it's either Farley or Parsons. I would love Parsons. I've been asking for a coverage linebacker for a long time now. I just don't know if he's going to drop to us. That's going to be a difficult one, depending on how many people overpay and draft for quarterbacks in this draft. I think it's an underwhelming draft quarterback other than the number one guy. So I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to try to pick up quarterbacks in the first 8, probably 3 quarterbacks going off the top. But if not, I think Parsons isn't going to be available to us. But I would love him. If he's there, we have to take him.
Yeah. So I think that'll tie into if we trade down or not, I mean, bottom line, guys, hey, make sure you remember we are going to be doing a pre-draft and post-draft podcast, but we're going to be doing a live show during the draft, leading up to it all the way to the Broncos pick. So we will be live during the draft, and we'll be here talking to you guys about it as that time gets closer. So there's going to be a lot of, I'm sure by the time we get through free agency, that's going to really change the draft picture a lot. But yeah, I think if he's not there by number 9, that, we might be looking to trade down. So
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. John, any other ideas or thoughts before I go there?
I'm excited to see this kick off. I don't know what I'm about to watch.
I should have made a special graphic for this, and I'm Team Visor. Raw.
Again, if people enjoy this argument, let us know, because we will go in depth on it for a much longer time. Because I think we're going to limit ourselves here, because we've gone playing Call of Duty. We have gone hours talking about this, and we could put that into an hour-long podcast if you guys are really interested.
Real quick, yeah, let us know, please.
So as David and Jared are going through this, post your comments and questions to on the Watson situation. I know there's a lot of talk around it, so I want to hear what you guys have to say as well, and see if these guys can answer it. So you know what, Team Visor is number 1. So Jared, I'm gonna go ahead and let you kick this one off, man.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm gonna
It's rigged. It's rigged, David.
Yeah,
I'm gonna preface. I'm gonna set the situation, right. So first of all, me and David also have a bet going right now that no team is dumb enough to trade 3 first-round picks for a quarterback. No matter how much in a prime he is, no matter how much ESPN says they're going to, no one's going to trade 3 first-round draft picks for him. So we're basing that, and I don't think he gets traded unless someone trades that. So we're at a kind of a standstill. I don't think he's going to get traded.
I'm already on Team David. I can tell.
Look, someone is going to pay 3 first-round draft picks for him. If that's where his concept is, that means we're going to have to give away 3 first-round draft picks, and that's where this conversation starts. We do not give away 3 first-round draft picks for, I don't care how good the guy is. I don't care if he's won every Super Bowl in his entire career. You don't give up 3 first-round draft picks, especially when we're talking about this whole entire thing. We're talking about how we need to build our defense to keep up with people like the Kansas City Chiefs, what the Rams or the Chargers are turning into, what the Raiders are trying to turn into with their speed. We need those picks. We need to self-grow defense. And we have already started self-growing offense. We just need to let them develop. Trading away 3 first-round picks ruins the next 3 years, and it's going to ruin 5 years down the road. Go, David.
At all? Okay.
No. We're going back and forth. This isn't like a one. I get one speech.
Right. No, you're right.
We're going back and forth.
So first, I want to preface this by saying that what I'm about to say is nothing personal against Drew Lock. I don't think that there's about 5 teams, maybe less than 5 teams in the NFL that I think shouldn't try to trade for Deshaun Watson. He's that kind of talent. 25 teams in the league would upgrade instantly by adding Deshaun Watson.
Absolutely.
He is, I think, a transcendent talent at the position, and there's no such thing as paying too much for a transcendent talent at that position because of how much he can do for the rest of your team, how much he can elevate the entire rest of your team. I would do dirty, unforgivable things. You guys want to name a player on this roster? I'll trade him away. There's not a single one you could name that I wouldn't give up in a package for Deshaun Watson. Not a single one. That's how bad I want him. That's how much I think he would change this team. You could, I think, trade away Jerry Jeudy and Noah Fant. Still bring.
So, hold on. 3 first-round picks: Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, and Bradley Chubb.
Now I'm thinking of not 3 first-round picks and those 3 players. I wouldn't do that deal. I would do those 2 players and another first-round pick for him, though, in a heartbeat. Because I still think that leaves you with enough pieces on offense to make this a team that can compete with Kansas City, that can compete with the Chargers, that can compete with the Raiders, that can surpass the Raiders every single year. I know it's not that hard to do, you wouldn't think. But, I think that Deshaun Watson instantly transforms this team into a Super Bowl contender. Not this year, but a team, you can build around him as a contender even without 3 first-round picks.
With what picks?
Yeah,
you can't. What are you building around him? What are you building?
You're going to have to get more value out of your second-round draft picks than you have been in under the Elway years, Jared. Granted, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry. Are we not the Elway years anymore? Are we expecting him to do better? You're going to have to do better in every other aspect of the NFL, just like, all the other teams are trying to do.
Exactly. Yeah, like all the other teams want to do. I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson is
zero room for error. If we get Deshaun Watson, is zero room for error in draft picks.
No.
Okay, so let's go back. So this is something that you brought up earlier, right? So if we're trading 3 first-round draft picks, screw all the players. We're trading 3 first-round back. You're willing to give up Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, and Bradley Chubb.
Yeah, if we were that's our 3 last. And
those are the 3 last. Those are our last 3. Yeah. So now you're talking. Our next 3 could be the talent level of those 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're willing to give that up?
Yes, for Deshaun Watson. Because then what, Jared? But say you did give up.
Who do we have?
Because what do you mean? Who do you have? What you still have? Jerry Jeudy. You still have Cortland Sutton.
No, you don't have Jerry Jeudy anymore. You just said we're giving away.
No, so wait. So are we trading the picks away, or are we trading the last 3 picks away? Now I'm confused.
If in a situation where we're trading the last 3 picks away, what have we done in those positions to make up for it?
Well, now you still have your
Von Miller gets hurt. We have who at defensive end?
Yeah, you've got Malik Reed, and then you're a little thin there. All right, you're gonna have to count on your offense to put up 30 points a game. Guess what? You've got Deshaun Watson. You can do it.
Deshaun Watson he can't put up 30 points a game by himself.
Yeah, but he's still got.
I don't know.
He didn't do it in Houston. He didn't do it in Houston. He had no receivers in Houston. He did not do that.
Yeah, all right, but he still has Cortland Sutton. He still has KJ Hamler. He still has weapons, Jared. He's still got Melvin Gordon and probably Phillip Lindsay. We'll see.
We'll see how that works.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe Tim Patrick is still around. You've got him on a restricted free agent contract. The point is he'd still have better weapons here, even without those 2 guys, than he had last year in Houston.
It's just not worth trading 3 first round, because you're looking at in the next 3 years. Okay, we don't pick up young guys, right, to build into our team. Watson, after 5-6 years, starts kind of going downhill, maybe possibly. If we don't win in the next 2-3 years, we're screwed in the long run. We have nobody. We've built up nobody, and where are we? Right, this is a huge boom or bust situation. I'm not willing to take that. I don't think we should be willing to take the risk of just giving away the farm to be able to get somebody just because he is a Don't get me wrong. I do. I think he's an amazing talent. If we could trade away 1 first-round pick and maybe Drew Lock and someone else, I'd think about it. I'd appreciate that. I don't think trading for what he's worth right now, what teams like Miami and the Jets and any other stupid GM team out there that probably, I don't know, the Chargers, even though they have a pretty decent quarterback, they've done stupid.
No, they were the Raiders.
Raiders, right? So those teams are going to give away, take all my picks in the future. I don't need them. That's a future me problem. The Denver Broncos aren't a future me problem type of team.
See, listen, I think that your argument is just a little bit flawed here, because it says that because other teams wouldn't be able to do it, the Broncos shouldn't do it.
I'm saying is those other teams are going to offer that.
Yeah, but
so I don't think the Broncos, because they're going to offer that, the Broncos are not going to be able to match that, and I don't think the Broncos should match the stupidity of other teams.
I will say that in reality, what's going to happen is, the Broncos are probably going to get outbid by somebody. Like, there's just going to be a point where even if you came to me and said, this is what you would have had to do to get Deshaun Watson in that scenario, I probably would have been like, ooh. Like if 3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks, that'd be a little bit crazy for me. That'd be a little bit rich for me. 3 first-round picks and like 3 blue-chip players from your roster, no, I wouldn't do that either. But
I think that's what it's probably going to take.
And it probably is. There's probably going to be a bidding war for him if he does actually become available. Then it's going to drive that price up. But it's crazy to me to think.
Houston's still sitting here saying that we're not going to trade Watson. I know it's all talk, it's all blah blah blah, and obviously they're feeding shit to the media to try to get the price to rise up. Like I think the ESPN 3 first-round picks is that somebody in their camp feeding it to them, being like, "This is the minimum we're going to take," and somebody out there again, like the Raiders, are sitting there like, "Is that what it's going to take?" Like you know what I mean?
Twitter, that the Texans called about Carson Wentz.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we'll see what that. But it's an interesting injection into the saga of we're not going to trade Deshaun Watson, but we'll trade for Carson Wentz to have them both on the same team. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's just a weird situation. I just think if you're the GM, you have, like you said, probably guaranteed one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league right now, which is as you can see with the quarterback carousel going on in this offseason, there's a lot of quarterbacks being traded. This is a high value position. Obviously, it always has been, always will be, but especially right now is the high value situation. Everyone's trying to get their guy for the future. If you're the Houston Texans GM, I don't care how mad he is. You come in there, you kind of have to sit down with him and try to figure these things out. Also, how much of this is smoke being blown up our booties? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's hard to say. I do want to say, right. I do want to say, just in a reference to the value of first overall picks, and this is just a stat, so take it as it is. But the Rams haven't had a first round pick since 2017, and they won't have one now until 2023 or something. But the Rams records 11-5 in 2017, 13-3 in 2018, 9-7 last year, 11-5 again this year. So I feel like not having first round picks is not a death knell to your team if you actually know how to use your other picks to fill out your roster.
Which Peyton has proved that he can do it.
Yeah, he's at least proved that he's been with an organization that has been doing it.
Right. Sorry, maybe I'm giving him too much credit for what happened in the Vikings since he was not the team.
You'd think he'd learn from that, and especially with his scouting background and the fact that while he was there, that was really his responsibility, was being the director of scouting, being responsible for going to bowl games and college games, all the above. I'm just thinking out loud here, but it seems to me like you can't cripple your team that badly by not having 3 first-round picks. Again, if we're talking about extra compensation to the level that we're probably going to have to get to Watson, yeah, it becomes a little bit prohibitive. But it's ridiculous to me that the Broncos wouldn't call and say, stop calling other teams and we'll give you 3 first-round picks right now.
Okay, so I get the Rams, and you know what? That's a great point. Where are they next year?
We'll see. But
right. So here's the problem. They have Matthew Stafford coming in because one of those first-round picks that they took was Jared Goff. Right. So one of the reasons they traded away some of their first-round picks was for Jared Goff a few years ago.
Right.
Sure. And now where are they going? What do they have in the future? They lost all their draft capital because they did a lot of offseason acquisitions the last 3 years, right? They did a lot of offseason. They boosted their draft cap, or they boosted their cap, right? So their cap was too high. They had to cut a bunch of people. They had to trade a lot of people. And now where are they sitting? Look at this team next year. Also, they're not in the AFC West. They're not in a league where all of the team, at least one of them, they're not in the
West, which is just as competitive, if not more, than the AFC.
Right.
West.
You think the NFC West is just as competitive as we have Kansas City, who's been back-to-back Super Bowls.
Yeah, they have Seattle.
They almost had 4 people or 4 teams in the playoffs at one point.
Russell Wilson, Jared. Kyler Murray, Jared.
Russell Wilson's probably not even going to be in Seattle next year.
San Francisco played in the Super Bowl last year. And now let me counter your question with another question. You say, where are the Rams going to be next year? Where would the Rams be next year if they had Deshaun Watson at quarterback? Probably a pretty good position, right? It would be, but they've already given up all their first round draft picks. We're talking about that they've already given up their draft picks. Now we're talking 5 years down the road. Sure, but
in 5 years down the road, Denver Broncos, if we give up 3 first round draft for Deshaun Watson, and we don't say we even do well, we get to the playoffs, lose in the AFC Championship round 2 of those years. What are we doing 5 years down the road?
I'll take it.
I mean,
it's a desperation move. It's a desperation move.
I'm sorry, you can't really sit there.
I'm with Jared.
No, you can't. You guys can't.
Not just Team Visor. I'm with Jared. I don't want to trade the farm.
But you can't tell me the 5-year picture looks clearer now with no Deshaun Watson than it would if he was on the roster. That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
I look back to, what was it, the 2016 draft or 2017 draft were pretty much like we didn't have anyone. It was just a terrible draft in general. I know this. We're talking about first round picks, but when there's not that talent and that young talent to grow a team around, you really start hurting. And you're really looking at picks 1, 2, and 3, right? When you don't have those players coming into your pipeline there, it's going to have an impact. You may be good for a couple of years there, but it's going to, over time, you're kind of going to be back at square one where there's people whose contracts are up. They leave for other teams. I don't know what the case is, but
I hear these arguments, but I think Deshaun Watson's talent alone mitigates so many of those issues. I really do.
But not all of them.
I think this comes down to how you value Watson. For me, personally, I think he's a very talented quarterback that is going to be top 5 for the next 10 years, personally. Yeah. And you don't have the option to get that very often, if ever. So if you have the opportunity to get that for the next 10 to 15 years, the way the quarterbacks are playing longer. Now, don't get me wrong, just Deshaun Watson is a mobile quarterback, so we all know how that could play out. But it's just a once in a GM's lifetime, a one-time thing. You don't get the opportunity often.
Right.
And I agree. And before we move on, I want everybody to understand. I don't think we're valuing Watson too far off. You're right. And David, I got really mad at you the other night, but you kept saying the word generational talent, right? He is a generational talent. He is a guy that is going to make a team better no matter what he goes to. I agree 100% that's going to happen. The question here isn't whether or not he is going to make a team immediately better for however long he can stay healthy or stay in the league. The question is, are we willing to give up? What are we willing to give up to be able to get to that point? Now, would I give up a first round, a couple second rounds, and maybe a couple big players? Yes, but I'm not willing to give up 3 first round picks because I think the Denver Broncos need to be draft. We have been, and you're right, we have been terrible in the drafts lately. I don't have faith in our drafting capabilities to be able to trade away draft picks just to trade them away.
Well, if you don't have faith in our draft, then why not give them away?
Well, and this is that's the double-edged sword.
Well, at least some of our first-round picks, don't get me wrong, at least some of our first-round picks are doing okay, but it's not like our second-round picks are doing much better. You know what I mean? It's not like we're doing well in the draft to be able to make a better team in the future. Well, I'm not willing to make that gamble.
Well, so we talked about what if we trade hypothetically away our last 3 first-round picks, right? Judy, right. Fant, Chubb. The 3 first-round picks before that, Garrett Bowles, Paxton Lynch, Shane Ray. So I
agree. So Garrett Bowles, first of all.
It's such a, but it's right. No, you're right. No, and you're right. He turned out. No, he panned out. He panned out, and all credit to Garrett Bowles for making his career and earning that contract that he earned this year again, because he really did. He earned every penny of it. But if you took it, I'd still trade 1 good year of Garrett Bowles play plus those other 2 guys for Deshaun Watson without thinking about it too much.
Right, but
even our last
right, yeah, right.
Our last couple of years have been guys that we think could be the future on our team.
Yeah,
like I don't know. I get it. I get that the quarterback position is important. First round pick and a couple other things for it. I get it. Not 3 first round pick. 3 is so much time. We're talking. It's just so much.
It's many years. You're right. It's not as much as
years. It's like
a large gamble.
But what if you're getting your guy for the next 15
like this
years?
Many years, David?
Yeah, but wait a minute. What do you do with the thumb? What do you do with the thumb again?
You got to put the thumb in.
The thumb goes in, and then you do. No, is that enough? No, not quite. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna drink some more whiskey, and then I'm gonna get it for sure.
All right. So I think the question I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
The question I want to ask to all the fans watching right now is, would you listen to an entire podcast with these guys making arguments on, getting Watson or not getting Watson? If you would, give us the thumbs up, let us know, and these guys might just go and do that podcast, but we want to know if it's worthwhile, if you guys would even go listen to that one. Of course, our podcasts are spread all over Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you guys listen to your podcasts, we're there. Of course, off season, it's going to be a little quiet, but when we get to big parts of the off season, such as free agency, the draft, so on and so forth, you can bet that we're going to be doing shows and videos throughout those whole areas of the off season, and we'll be doing some fun trivia nights as well. So a few times we'll be doing Broncos trivia. Come on, join us, have some fun, see what you know, and see if you're smarter than us. Won't be too much harder to be smarter than Jared, but it'll make you guys feel good about yourselves.
I'm historically terrible at Broncos
One of these times, Jared, because I bear.
In my defense, there was 2 games where Matt was just giving away random points. There was no real winner. I got a negative 500 for getting an answer right.
Either way, one of these days, I know I'm going to lose, and you are just going to bombard me and make me pay for it. I'm expecting it. So anyway, we'll be here during the off season, guys. Just not as frequent. Obviously, make sure you check out the Facebook page and follow us for all the things we have going on. Okay. Let's see. Got a comment. Dylan, I think, posted. Daniel, sorry. Do we see the team getting relocated? That is not going to happen.
No.
I think he's going back to the ownership situation. I think that's going to be. Yeah, so that's going to be one of those situations where, the Bolin family might be fighting right now, but I don't think any of them want them to leave Denver. I think that's going to be a stipulation. And if they do end up selling the team, which is a whole nother show, that's going to end up being part of the stipulation is that they have to stay in Denver. I do not think they leave Denver. Plus, our market is way too good. It's too much.
I don't believe the NFL would allow the Broncos to leave Denver. I think there's maybe
will be on fire if they leave.
No, right. I think there's a perception of Denver as a middle of the country team that doesn't have that kind of market as teams like New York and LA do. But in NFL circles, this I think is probably viewed as a top 10, certainly top half of the league market. There would not be any chance that the Broncos are leaving Denver.
Yeah, especially with the growth of Colorado. If you look at from a financial standpoint, the growth of Colorado, the housing market in Colorado, it's just there's absolutely no way anybody's leaving Colorado.
No chance.
We've talked way too long on this topic.
Right. Yeah. For something that's not going to happen. Absolutely. Right. I got a comment, a text from my friend who wanted to make sure I put this on the show. She said sports with 10 Z's.
Sports. Oh, sports.
Yes. And so I wanted to make sure that comment made its way onto the show. Definitely needed.
Okay, whoa. Let's go back to that last comment, though. He wasn't asking, do the Broncos leave? They're just saying relocation of any team in general. So maybe we just target.
Okay. All right.
So any team low relocate in the offseason. Okay, that's
any
team. Might be more up.
That's a different story.
NHL, there's some talk and speculation, but NFL.
I haven't heard anything. I haven't read anything.
It's February. The off season starts soon. If they were relocation plans, we would have heard about by now if it was going to happen for the 2021 season,
or even in the next couple of years. I mean, those things are announced years in advance.
It takes a while, yeah.
Especially if you're going to a place with no real stadium. I mean, the Chargers and Rams shared the college stadium there for a while or whatnot, but. No, I think just looking around the league, everyone is pretty much set where they're at. The fan base is pretty set. I mean, you had teams like the Chargers who were bouncing around between LA and San Diego, and that was then you got just people moving back to those big cities of LA, especially.
If Trevor Lawrence flops in Jacksonville, who knows what could happen? Like if that goes down, oh man, anything could happen there.
So I don't. If you want to talk about NHL, there's maybe a couple there, but in general, no. So yeah, sorry for that, Daniel. Appreciate the question though. Robert, Mrs. Pat Bolin. I think we
got us all hyped up on the Broncos relocating.
Right? Yeah. No.
Yeah. Right.
Bring us back down to earth. That's okay.
Someone, I think maybe it was Daniel again, but somebody asked earlier if there's gonna be fans in the stadiums this year. Obviously, we don't know. That's all based off the COVID protocols. But depending on how things happen. Yes. Well,
there's going to be fans eventually.
Yeah. When and how many, I don't know.
I guess
whether that meetup happens
more and sooner.
And whether that meetup happens this season for the Broncos-Raiders game in Vegas or whether it's in another season, but yes, that's going to happen, Robert. Don't even worry about it.
That is the plan.
Vegas, we will be wearing our puffball hats. Doesn't matter what the temperature is. Going to need you to just pack accordingly.
I'm excited to see this.
Pack accordingly. I'm going to be sweating. It's going to be unpleasant, but it's going to happen. I am committed. I wore this thing. I wore my first puffball all through Rome and all through Israel. And yeah, it was November, so it wasn't like hot, but I am committed.
If you take your hat off at any point during the game, you owe us all drinks for the rest of the day.
Oh, well, that's easy. The game, it'll be a climate-controlled stadium. That's going to be fine. It's
No, just at any point if it comes off your head.
No, you said during the game. You said during.
No,
the
I said
game.
at any point during the day.
No, you said during the game. We're gonna rewind. Yeah, thank you, John.
David, I appreciate your dedication, even throughout different countries in Europe. Like,
Much appreciated. See, John knows. I'm not going to try to recruit John to Team Puff.
I'm not even on any team. I just, real respect, real right there.
That's right. Absolutely. Listen, you can get the puffball dry cleaned at night when you're in your hotel room. They've got laundry services at these hotels. All right, you get the sweat cleaned out. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be
Seems like a lot of work. You can just wear a visor and be nice and cool.
Oh God, I'd rather be sweaty and disgusting, Jared. Woof. Or maybe I'll just bring several puffballs. I have a few.
This is funny. This is funny. Yeah, if Bill O'Brien was there, we probably could have got Deshaun Watson for a long snapper and some Rocky Mountain oysters. That's funny.
That is true, though.
It's not wrong either. That's the sad thing. We're just a year too late on this deal. We could have had him real cheap a little while ago.
Oh, man,
Which is another reason why I don't think it's reasonable to expect Deshaun Watson to leave. This new GM is not going to let him go. I wouldn't be surprised if they let him sit out a season.
Right. No, that would not surprise me either if he had to force his way out by just sitting out a whole season.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to so many mixed reports coming out of there. It's hard to make heads or tails of what's going on behind those closed door talks and what the situation really is. And again, we'll probably never know, but obviously.
While we're on that conversation too, and thinking about this quarterback carousel this year is unlike any other. I don't think has ever happened in the NFL. Like, there are so many quarterbacks that are asking for trades. There's so many quarterbacks being traded. There's so many quarterbacks looking at being drafted. This entire season is going to get turned upside down because there's going to be so many new quarterbacks and so many new teams. No matter how.
This is the latest one I was reading on today.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned it earlier. Russell Wilson's another one that wants out of Seattle. And we're talking about almost every team. There's only few teams with very young quarterbacks that are looking at keeping their guys. Do not fall for the clickbait of, we're going to go get this guy, we're going to go get this guy. And I guarantee everyone's going to put out some sort of article about going out and getting every single quarterback that's available right now, or that has even mentioned. I don't know if you remember, Aaron Rodgers said something like nonchalant at his interview, and everyone was like, Denver Broncos are going to go get Aaron Rodgers. Like, that's not what he meant. He even came out and was like, whoa, that's not, I didn't mean I was going to leave. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's been a huge thing. Yeah. So just, I don't know. I don't think we should fall for that. Obviously, I think we're going to sniff around. And again, with the new GM and he might surprise us. He might go out there and do something crazy that we don't know. But as far as we're concerned, if we're not going out hard trying for certain big players, and I think Matthew Stafford was probably one of 3 quarterbacks in this quarterback carousel that's really worth going after, we're going to stick with Locke for 1 year because it goes back to the whole Fangio thing, right? Yeah. So if Locke and Fangio don't do well, we get a new quarterback, we get a new head coach, we get a new coaching staff, new quarterback, and start them fresh together, as opposed to this kind of ladder that we've been doing. Fire quarterback, get a new quarterback, get a new head coach a year later, get a new quarterback a new year later. Like, it just doesn't work out.
You're looking at a 3 to 5 year rebuild.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to get rid of one without the other.
Yeah.
However, if they do end up going out and getting a new quarterback, that bodes well for Fangio, I think.
You think? Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're right about that. No. Especially if it's that. If Matt Stafford had been the choice, I think that would have boded really well for Fangio.
Oh no, I agree. Again, I only think there's 3. I think Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson, and maybe Russell Wilson. Now that he's up and about,
if that was a possibility, then yeah, right. Sure, right, yeah,
and if it's a draft choice, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, if we go out and get some veteran player, we trade for someone. I mean,
now, okay, we talk about
for Fangio, then sticking with the Drew Lock situation, who was not a great quarterback last year. Let's be honest.
Would somebody like Andy Dalton make the Denver Broncos better?
No.
Would somebody like
he'd make the Broncos quarterback room better?
As if Lock goes down, we have a better quarterback than Drew Driscoll.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I would think.
I think Andy Dalton's going to go somewhere. He's going to start. Someone's going to trade for him that they need a starting quarterback.
I think he's.
I think his starting days are over. I think the perception on him has shifted now to Andy Dalton isn't top 32 in this league, but he's a good backup.
I think he's an amazing back. I think he'd be a great signing for the Broncos as a backup to compete with Locke. Ultimately, Locke gets it, and then we're in the same situation. Locke and Fangio either go together or stay together.
Yeah, and again, that's all fun and games. I think someone's going to pay more than what we're willing to bring in a backup quarterback.
Okay.
You guys ready for my answer here?
Kevin, I forgot you were here.
Drew Lock.
Drew Lock is the quarterback you want.
Drew Lock. I am so sick of these quarterback controversies every single year.
Hey, we didn't have it last year.
Huh?
Right.
We didn't have
Last
it
year was
last
the first year in 4 years that we did not have a quarterback controversy.
This is
Here
true.
we are again.
We've had so many of them though before that I'm still sick of them. So look, I don't have to worry about it for the next 5 to 10 years. Like I want Drew Lock here. I want him to do well. Even Peyton Manning is saying that, yeah, he's all in, basically all in on Drew Lock. He's supporting him. That's who he wants to succeed.
That's a big decision to make as far as the Broncos go.
Yeah, but I'm going to listen to the sheriff. So,
all right, I take that back. Anything Peyton Manning is gold.
So another thing too is if you looked at the film from day 1, week 1 to week 16, week 17, we're talking about a different Drew Lock, right? Sure. We obviously expected a lot because he had a very good end of last year. Coming into this year, he struggled very early on. He struggled through the mid. Towards the end of the season, his footwork, his decision-making was getting much better. Obviously, injuries were an issue. I do want to see him, in all honesty, I want to see him succeed. I want to see him come out here, and I want to see him come out of the gate hard. But the conversation is there because of what he did towards the early and middle of the season.
No, I 100% agree, Jared. And I don't think anyone's arguing with you that we don't want to see Locke succeed. Obviously, we want him to be our future. Right. And I think the most likely scenario is Locke is our future, honestly. Like, this is all fun and games, and that's kind of the whole point of the offseason is to have these conversations. Do I think we're going to get Watson? Probably not. That would be, honestly, in my opinion, if I'm Texas or the Texans, that would be the dumbest move that they've made.
Of all of the dumb moves.
Of all the dumb moves in the last 10 years, which is saying a lot.
A lot.
So, yeah, I don't see us getting Watson. I think we're sticking with Locke for another year, and I think it's going to play out exactly what we want. So we could have made this a 5-minute conversation and said, we're going to stick with Locke. We'll see about Von Miller, and we haven't even talked about Justin Simmons.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Good Lord. And it's been and we're an hour in. We haven't said
we're already an hour. I mean, we haven't talked about Philip Lindsay. We haven't talked about Justin Simmons. We mentioned that. Yeah.
We have a free agency preview show coming up.
We will have another show coming up. This is just too much fun.
Oh, look, it's 2 days after the Super Bowl, and Broncos football really doesn't come back till what, August?
No, Broncos football is now. 2021 starts now. Kevin.
There is no such thing as not Broncos football.
When they're off the field, we're here, like we're not going away, right? I mean, we're still talking about it one way or the other, but it's different than having actual games. So, Tebow is available.
Sorry. Don't forget about Shelby. Shelby Harris is also a free agent this year, which is a huge one because we only got him back because nobody decided to pay for him, and we were like, hey, we'll keep you around for a certain number. So.
And then
that's not going to happen this year.
Like his best all around.
And he had an amazing season. In the absence of Jarrell Casey, he just absolutely lit it up. It was amazing.
It's time to cut Jarrell Casey, give his money to Shelby. I love you, Jarrell. Your time here was brief. You were a monster, but now it's over.
Over. Yep.
Jarrell and Shelby gets your money.
Okay. Apparently, I said blasphemy here, and so I apologize. I was wrong. How dare
Broncos football is perpetual.
That was soap after this. So,
this whole thing.
Yeah, were you? I'm sorry, Kevin, you're here.
6 years ago, I can't keep up.
Yeah,
6 years. Oh man.
Okay, I think it's time. Obviously, a huge shout out to John Lynch and Peyton Manning for making it to the Hall of Fame. That's going to be some fantastic stuff to see as they get inducted in the Hall of Fame and get those rings and those nice gold jackets. It's going to be fantastic. But anyway, any other thoughts you guys have around the room?
Just one. Couple of sports writers who I really enjoyed reading their stuff passed away very recently. Therese Paylor. Actually, surprisingly today, very unexpectedly passed away. Kansas City Chiefs writer, really super knowledgeable guy, really interesting guy to listen to on podcasts if you ever caught him there. And then Chris Wesseling, from the NFL.com just staff writers. One of the most talented football writers I think I've ever read, just reading his stuff, passed away of cancer a couple of days ago. So just one of those things, guys, we talk about football. It's just important to remember there's also real life out there, and take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, because it's short and it never gets any longer,
Yep. Touche.
Yeah, I mean that's a big point. There's an ESPN writer, an NFL.com writer, and there's like 3 people in the past 4 days that have passed away.
Yeah.
Just take care of yourselves. I think that's a big point here. But yeah, the Broncos football is here no matter what, and we're going to be here no matter what. Like I said, we're ending our 5th season. I could not be more proud of where we're at. I'm so happy that we are where we are. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sticking with us. We started this in Kevin's corner. That is his wife put us in when we started this back 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago now. And I'm just glad that we're here. And thank you so much for supporting us. I couldn't be happier to end season 5 and get ready for the exciting season 6 that we have coming up this next year.
Yep. And Daniel, we would keep going, but got to leave you wanting more, You can't just go forever and then you get sick of us. We got to spread it out. But
besides, early is a subjective term. It's 8:00 and I am old.
This is true. John, what you got?
Any fun? Yeah.
No, I mean, just excited to continue the conversation with you guys. And, I live for the off season. I'd love to hear all the rumors, and 99% of them don't come to fruition, but that's what the off season is all about, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely.
True. Very true. Okay, guys. Again, thanks for watching. Make sure you follow, go subscribe to our podcast, give us a rating, give us a like, give us a review on all those places. Facebook as well. Remember, we do have a Twitter and an Instagram as well at Orange Weekly. Pretty much wherever your main social media is, we are there as well. So just make sure you search for us, and where possible, hit that share button, let everybody else know about us. And we got some great stuff heading your way. So, appreciate all you guys, Jared, David, and John. Thanks for being here, but I think it's time.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin, as always.
Go Broncos.
Broncos. Have a good night, everyone.
Do what I like, yeah, I do what I like, yeah, I do what I like. Sipping goose, sip is right, and I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, yeah, I go with the flow, cause I know I'm the show. In the zone, here I go, in the zone, here I go, in the zone, here I go, yeah, they know I'm a pro.